Herman Holly's compost gets its heat from the Gulf of Mexico.
You can see why they call it yellowfin tuna. See how the little finlets are yellow? This is a mangrove snapper as opposed to a red snapper. Our local delicacy, black mullet.
You don't need fish to compost, but the same principles apply to your home pile.
Carbon, nitrogen, moisture, and air. So composting really is the way to save the world.
You can make leaves and kitchen scraps work for your garden. Today, we learn about hot composting. As we learned in our last segment, soil is made of rock fragments. The size of the grain determines how much space and air is in the soil. The amount of space and air influences the health of plants, as does one other key ingredient.
Up at the top, you have, a darker color due to the organic matter, and this is what would be called topsoil.
You need 3% organic matter. Most farm soils are 1 to 1.5%, but most industrial farming, the nutrients are put there in chemical form. In organic farming, you build the soil, you get the 3% organic matter in the soil.
In nature, organic matter comes from dead and decomposing plants and animals. In our yards, we can control the process by creating compost.
The idea is that you get a mix of carbon-rich materials, that would be your browns, and nitrogen-rich materials, those would be your greens. And so examples of your browns would be leaves, shredded paper, mulch, and then your greens would be your food scraps, coffee grinds, vegetable waste from the kitchen, but also your grass clippings and whatnot.
Herman uses a nitrogen source that might not be a fit for every home garden, but it does show off the composting process in a dramatic way.
It's fish scraps, everything that we can't sell, and we try to sell everything that we can. We try to sell heads, we try to sell the cheeks out of groupers and snappers, the throats out of groupers and snappers, and then of course the meat off the fish, but everything that's left, skins, backbones, everything else, he uses all of it.
What I do is just cover it deep enough that the varmints don't pull stuff out, and give it a week or two to break down, and then I mix it.
So once you've been building your compost pile, you've been making this lasagna of greens and browns. After a while, those microbes are going to get to work and they're going to give off heat.
When a pile's really active, you can come out here. It's easiest to see in the morning for some reason. You can come out here and you'll see steam coming out the top of the pile.
Those microbes give off the heat, and that's a good thing because it's going to actually get rid of some of the weed seeds. It's going to kill off some of the potential bad diseases and viruses, bacteria that might be in that material. What you need to do though is as it builds and builds and builds with heat, those microbes are working hard. They're also kind of sucking up the oxygen that's in that pile.
The most common problem that I've run into is lack of air, things being too compacted. You need to have some coarse material as part of the mix, even if you're going to sift that out, but the pile has to be able to breathe.
And that's where a pitchfork and lots of muscle is involved in flipping that pile. And when you're doing that, you're incorporating air back into the pile. Typically, we would tell folks to work from the outside, so the stuff that has been on the outside of your old pile, you want to flip that into the middle of the new pile that you're flipping into. And that helps break that material down. The one other important thing, your compost pile does need to stay moist. We usually get enough rain in Tallahassee where if it's uncovered, it'll probably be just fine. If you have one of these compost units that has a cover, you will want to take that off and give it some water every now and again.
So you have to have a little moisture, carbon and nitrogen, and air.
You may have sandy soil that doesn't hold moisture,
I'm going to try to dig here and see what happens.
or you might have compacted soil, which would restrict plant roots.
See how easy it is to dig here?
You can hear the difference between the two. Building a healthy topsoil layer conditions your soil and makes it friendlier to plants.
There's a lot of life in healthy soil. That life activity creates a physical structure with space for water. If you built the soil, then every rain lasts longer for you. You save the water in your soil.
You're putting to good use this material that would otherwise be thrown away, right? So instead of throwing this, landscape debris out to the curb or your kitchen scraps to the landfill, you can keep these things on site and, turn it into something valuable for your garden. So that's really important.
For WFSU, I'm Rob Diaz de Villegas.